Good to see you all, and it's really great you're all here in person, and of course a very warm welcome to everyone online, and welcome to this Unilever investor event for 2024. Look, it was already great to connect with many of you over lunch, and I hope that you also got to meet some members of the team, and I hope that you have detected from those encounters a surge of confidence and some momentum that's currently running through the company. Now, obviously combined, I would say, with a sense of humility, because we are still at an early stage of the transformation of Unilever. Today, we want to update you on that transformation, and we will share progress that we are making against the Growth Action Plan, or the GAP, that we launched a year ago, where we are on track, and probably more importantly, where we have real work to do. The Growth Action Plan was a targeted intervention at the time, an operational plan to improve our growth, and it was underpinned by a strong focus on building back the bank of gross margin. Now, it was not a new strategy at the time, and I said that we probably needed a bit more time to accomplish that. Well, I'm pleased to say that today that's why we're here. That work is now complete. So we want to share that new strategy with you, and you won't be surprised to learn that it builds very much on the existing strengths in the business and on the strong progress that we have made as a company over the last 12 to 18 months or so. In fact, we'd like to think that what we are sharing with you today is a strategic embedding of that Growth Action Plan, and therefore the title that we have chosen for the route going forward is Our Growth Action Plan 2030. And what I will do now is to spend about 10 minutes or so to update you on the progress that we have made, and then I'll take about an hour, so please hang in, to walk you through the different elements of the Growth Action Plan 2030. And videos from some of our senior leaders who are here, that they will appear and they will help to bring certain priorities in that plan to life. And then we'll take a break. After the break, Fernando will pick up on ways in which we are accelerating the transformation and what the Growth Action Plan 2030 will mean in terms of value creation and the financial algorithm. So after that, we're very keen to hear from you, your responses as well as questions, as we have an hour for Q&A. So that's how the afternoon will look like. Now, as you can see here on the chart, there's been a lot of activity over the last year or so, organizationally, operationally, and financially. And we have also made significant choices to accelerate the Growth Action Plan. And I want to go through some of the elements now, but I won't, I think very importantly, at this stage in the game, I think it suffices to say that we are ending 2024 with a better operational grip, a stronger organization, and a sharper portfolio. And I think as a result, a positive momentum in our business. The last year has also seen a significant refresh of our leadership team. New faces, and I'm sure you've met a few of them, new roles, and of course, new expectations. In fact, it started with the appointment of our new chairman in December of last year, and subsequently we have changed 5 positions in the Unilever board, with the 6th one actually coming up with the appointment of Benoît Potier in January 2025. At the executive level, 60% of the Unilever executive are new to their roles, and a quarter are actually new to Unilever. And I believe that this injection of external talent will remain an important element going forward for us. Obviously, ensuring as well that the leadership remains diverse in all other respects as well. Now, I will come back to talent and to culture later, but for the moment I can tell you that with everyone you here on the first row, I feel very good about that quality of leadership that we have in place, and together we are going to take the strategy forward. A year ago, when we launched the Growth Action Plan, we said that we would fix the fundamentals of our performance and of our business, and that we were going to focus on essentially 3 things. 1, improved volume-led top-line growth. 2nd, building back the bank of gross margin. And thirdly, an improved competitiveness, i.e. better market shares. And we see that increased focus is resulting in an improved performance. So, as you know, in quarter 3 represented our 4th consecutive quarter of volume growth, and importantly, at that moment in time, all business groups were delivering those positive volumes. On gross margin, we did achieve our initial aim of returning to pre-pandemic levels, and we did it a bit earlier than we anticipated. And that was largely due to a refocused prioritization on the concept of net productivity. More about that later. And with that gross margin improvement, we have reinvested behind our brands. So important. Our brand and marketing investment is on track to be the highest in percentage terms in more than a decade in the company. And following that, we were able to boost our profitability, and EPS growth recorded was 16%. Now, a key element, as you know, in this journey is a rigorous focus and through that increased investment behind our 30 power brands. We see that focus paying off. So year to date, these power brands were growing 5.6%. They were ahead of the company average, and with a healthy volume growth of 4.1%. Power brands represent 75% plus of our turnover. But very importantly, that is not a zero-sum game. You know, other brands have a distinct and an important role to play. And our commitment to these brands was also demonstrated by the fact that also these brands have returned to volume growth in the 3rd quarter. But it's very clear that that strong focus on the power brands is very important. And that includes as well that we ensure that these brands drive fewer, bigger, and of course better innovations. And that's such an important part of our story, because from the moment that I arrived, I felt that our innovation delivery was actually not matching the strength of our brands or the quality, the fantastic quality that we have in our R&D. And I feel that that is changing. We have a very clear framework now and some ambitious goals. And I specified them, I think, to quite a few of you last year. We want to build on an annual basis 10 to 15 platforms, each generating about 100 million euro of incremental turnover over time. And we wanted to double the average size of innovation with a base year of 2021 in the company. Now, look, that is what we are doing, and it's still, of course, early days, but we are seeing encouraging results. We have defined for 2024 12 of those platforms, and we are on track for all of these platforms to indeed become a 100 million platform. We're also reached in 2024 already a doubling of that average size of innovation versus that base year 2021. But I should say that is a positive, and we're encouraged, but that still needs some further improvement. You know, I think over time we need to go to almost quadrupling the average size of our innovation versus that base year. So we've really started good stuff, but we have much more to do. Now, getting back as well to the 3rd area of focus, which is improved competitiveness, i.e. Market share. And the first thing to note is that our coverage of market share and the way we report about it with turnover weighted market share comprises about 70% of our portfolio. And some of the faster growing parts of the portfolio are actually not included in the metric. So these are prestige beauty, well-being, food solutions, and our out-of-home ice cream business. That still means, though, that we need to make progress, of course, on the 70%. No doubt about it. I just wanted to make the caveat because there could be a disconnect sometimes between reported numbers and the reported share numbers. And we are seeing ongoing improvements, though, on that 70%, as we have committed to for the second half of 2024. And we're seeing improved readings for the trends, particularly over the last 3 months. And therefore, on a moving annual basis, which you see here on the chart, it will take a bit before we get into real positive territory. But I'm positive that we will get there also on that basis in 2025, based on the recent results. So, all in all, encouraging progress. But, as I said a few times, we're under no illusions. We have a lot to do. On for example, the concept that we have introduced to drive a much greater discipline on execution, unmissable brand superiority. It's a rigorous process that we have in place, and we feel good about it, that it can be a game changer. But it also reveals some gaps that we definitely need to close. The good news is we are now looking at the gaps and we are closing them. Another point that we need to improve on is premiumization, such an important global trend, and we are still under-indexed in that segment. Making progress, but under-indexed, and I'm confident that also here we can make progress, and we're going to talk about that this afternoon. In implementing the Growth Action Plan, we have followed some very simple mantras, and I think you get probably bored of me saying it, but first and foremost, and I will continue to hammer it, it is doing fewer things better and with greater impact. It also means, as a result, that we need to scale our strengths and replicate our successes faster across the company. Third, it means, as I said in unmissable brand superiority, when we have areas of underperformance or when there are gaps or whatsoever, we need to address them and move on. Put them on the table, make it transparent and move. And as a result, and that's fourth, making Unilever, through doing all of that, a more performance-oriented business. And I think we made progress against these objectives, enough to give us confidence now to move to the next stage of the transformation of the company. And as you would expect, in considering the next stage, we've actually done our homework. We've been looking at trends, we've been looking at data, consumer data, category data, channel data, and so forth. We've also considered a wider macroeconomic context and the impact that it might have on our key markets. And here you see the trends, and I'm sure since it's capital market season, you'll probably recognize quite a few of the trends here. So I'm definitely not going to belabor them, but I would highlight in particular, because that has come so much to the fore when we were looking at it, the speed of change taking place in the way consumers behave, including in how and where they shop. And of course, the dramatic advances in digital and in AI. And you will see that these themes, particularly these themes, play out a lot in our plans going forward as we go through this afternoon. So, we need to get in that. But before I start, let me just reiterate that the new strategy in itself builds very directly on the Growth Action Plan. But the Growth Action Plan 2030 is more comprehensive in its approach. And we've looked at all the constituent parts. And as you can see here on the page, and I'll walk you through a bit. I'll start here and I'll come back on the top side, but I'll start with the strategic goal that we are setting, the strategic choices that we are making, and the elements that will underpin the kind of company that we want to build, i.e. sustainability and a winning culture. But of course, it starts here at the top, and it starts with our purpose. What kind of company do we actually want to be? Now, I'm just taking some water here, talking too much, and that will go on for a bit. When I joined the company back in 1997, I was 10 years old at the time. The company's purpose then was, and I remember it very vividly, it was to meet the everyday needs of people everywhere. And somehow that phrase resonated with me. And since then, of course, many things have changed. For one thing, sustainability has of course grown in importance since then. And my predecessors have worked very, very hard to establish Unilever as a leader in this field. And in fact, if you look at our prior purpose, it was framed in that context, making sustainable living commonplace. Now, on this, let me be clear, sustainability will remain of significant importance to Unilever, but equally, we have felt as a leadership that it was right to make a shift and to reorient ourselves, purpose-wise, back to the consumer. And we will do that going forward with a new purpose that was shown in the video, which is brighten everyday life for all. And it builds on the purpose that first resonated with me in 97, but it takes it beyond a sort of a reactive meeting of everyday needs to a greater focus on creating demand and on making markets. And it's something that you will hear a lot more when we go through the afternoon. And I believe that in anchoring ourselves back with the consumer, our new purpose also speaks to making those moments that defines people's everyday lives a bit more, joyful, convenient, more efficient, as well as more sustainable. And whether that is through, elevating the taste of a meal and making the preparation a bit more convenient, or cleaning your homes or your clothes and making it a better, a quicker, and a more sustainable experience, or bringing superior beauty or personal care products and regimes to people. And once that, as you know, and that fits our brands, boost confidence and self-esteem, and hopefully delivering, of course, to better results. Now, we unveiled this new purpose last week with our people through a similar, very significant event. And it created a lot of excitement and anticipation. And I feel that the Unilever community is ready and the time is right for a refreshed expression of our purpose, a new purpose for a new era. Now, let me go through the other elements of the Growth Action Plan 2030, and it's starting with some of the strategic choices. And there are three important pillars here. Where we have chosen to focus to get our biggest returns. Where we want to excel when it comes to demand creation, and what capabilities that we need to accelerate to stay ahead in that fast-moving world. And as I've said, doing fewer things better with greater impact has been very key. And we've started to see what happens when we put the full might of the company behind that more focused agenda. So we're going to continue in that vein. So in practice, that means a focus on 30 power brands and 24 markets. And the reason here is quite compelling, because 30 power brands constitute more than 75% of turnover, and 24 markets constitute around 85% of our turnover. Now, it's important, so let us dissect this a little further. Because post the separation of ice cream, which we are, by the way, confident that that will be completed by around this time next year, we will have 4 business groups. And these business groups will make a broadly similar contribution to our turnover, but they each play a distinct role in the portfolio, and Fernando is going to talk about that in more detail. As you can see from the visual here, after the ice cream separation, we will be left with a simpler and a more coherent business. And the business will be anchored in those 30 power brands. And these brands drive the overwhelming majority of turnover as well as profit. Power brands have characteristics that they can be scaled regionally or globally. And power brands can benefit first from interventions that we are making as a company, for example, through the implementation of unmissable brand superiority. And we think that around 30 is the right number here. So once ice cream separates, then we will add 4 brands that fit these criteria. And they're all from beauty and well-being, and they're all brands that premiumize our portfolio, an ambition that I called out earlier in this speech. So brands that will be added are Olly, K18, Hourglass, and Nexus. So the business groups are anchored in the power brands, and we will manage these through 24 markets, again, representing approximately 85% of the business. And the nature and the scale of the changes that we are making here are quite significant in the way we operate the company. So I want to take a moment to explain how this new operating model will actually work in practice. So let's start with the top 24 markets. And we refer to these markets internally as business group-led markets, and they have 4 characteristics. 1, they will be run by the business groups who have end-to-end decision rights and responsibility for the P&L. The model has been designed in such a way that it delivers on business group strategy, and therefore these markets will be design markets for global innovation and for the use of new technologies. Third, frontline resources, sales, will be segmented by business group, which ensures that a seamless integration between category strategy and in-market execution. And finally, 4, because there is an end-to-end P&L responsibility, the supply chain as such will be managed by business group. By contrast, the remaining markets, representing 15% of turnover, will be managed as what we call one Unilever markets. And this part of the business will be run in a separate P&L. And there will be one customer development team per country, and that customer development team represents all the categories vis-à-vis the customer. And these markets, these one Unilever markets, will be takers of global innovation that will first be rolled out in the business group-led markets. And therefore, in these smaller one Unilever markets, resources will be deliberately lean. So these markets will be the recipient of more off-the-shelf infrastructure solutions, like in the IT domain. Now, if we do that, we will reduce complexity in these markets, and we will avoid duplications in parts of the business that aren't big enough to warrant, for example, for 4 separate sales forces that represent a massive focusing if we do it in that way, and it will therefore simplify our operations in the smaller markets. Now, that said, very importantly, even though the one Unilever markets won't be principal focus for investment and innovation, they do remain critically important. And we cannot deliver the plan without them, but we actually believe that by simplifying the model, they can actually thrive and grow faster. And this focused approach to running the business by 4 business groups, 30 power brands, 24 markets, has enabled us to identify where we have the biggest priority opportunities. And these are, first of all, doubling down in India. And that builds on a significant presence that we already have in the country, which is in itself Unilever's second biggest geography. Fernando will talk more about that. Secondly, it's about accelerating our fast-growing well-being and prestige businesses, and that includes the international rollout of some of the very successful brands. Third, about premiumizing and accelerating our business in the US. Fourth, through growing select emerging market powerhouses. And you should think about, for example, Brazil being an obvious case in point, or the Philippines, or also Indonesia, where we have a lot of work to do that is currently going on, but where our long-term commitment is very strong. And then finally, shifting our portfolio to a more premiumized portfolio, more specialty channel-geared portfolio in Europe, to build on the progress that we have made in this part of the world in 2024. Now, in the interest of time, I want to focus on the first 2. So, I'll starting with that doubling down in India. And that perhaps represents our single biggest opportunity over the next couple of years. Later, as I said, you will hear more from Fernando on some of these priorities. But, let me start with India and why it's so important to us. India has always been a Unilever stronghold, but its performance over the last decade has brought this into even sharper focus. And as you can see, because by any measure, HUL is a fantastic business. It's strong, it's resilient, and it has very, very enviable market shares that have actually grown considerably over the last 3 years. And in 2024, our focus remained on driving competitive volume growth. And yes, we've seen some ongoing recovery from a volatile period. But importantly, we have continued to first stabilize, but also continue to grow these market shares into the latest reach. And I think that is super important after a period of strong growth, that we continue to remain very competitive. So whether it's on the long term or the short term, we believe our HUL business is a phenomenal strength to the company. So it's a good place to start, but we're not complacent here. We're actually very much on the ball to continue to play that important role in India, because in itself it is evolving fast as an economy. Annual household incomes are going up, as you can see represented here, And that in itself is a change that opens up significant opportunities for us in the years ahead. So let's talk about that. India is going to be important for all the 4 business groups because all of them have big opportunities. So if you think about it, if GDP per capita rises, so does per capita consumption growth. And this gives essentially that upside for each of the business groups. And that's through unmissably superior brands, through premiumizing the portfolio, or through digitizing our entire value chain. And as you can see, the opportunity reflected in the example here. GDP per capita in India today is the equivalent of about 2,400 euro. We expect, and sort of that's a broad consensus, that will go up to 4,500 by 2033. That's an 85% increase. Now, when that happens, the spend in fabric cleaning, and that's just to take one example, looking at the averages around the world, for that per capita increases by 8 euro. Leaving everything else constant, that upside for us in this scenario is 2 billion euro. And that is just getting a fair share of that increase. Now, understandably, you may well say that's just modeling, but the reality is we have seen this before. If you think of the Philippines, and I mentioned the Philippines before, that had a similar GDP dynamic. It started in 2008 with per capita consumption in fabric cleaning rising with approximately 9 euro as well. And that contributed significantly to our business growing from 500 million at that time to now a 1.4 billion business in the Philippines. So India is an enormous opportunity for the company, and we will use it. We will pull all levers to make sure that we benefit from that growth. You will hear more about that on the HUL Investor Day that will take place on the 29th of November. The second area of focus I wanted to touch on is the acceleration and the internationalization of our prestige business and our well-being business. And as you know, these parts of the business have enjoyed actually very high growth rates. So over the last 15 quarters, the combined business of these two has consistently grown double-digit. And the combined turnover is now close to 4 billion. So together, these two businesses represent a quarter of our beauty and well-being business. So there's no doubt that we have built up some critical mass in this attractive part of the market with a strong focus on the United States. And in that country, we see plenty of headroom for further growth. Because there, the brands are obviously very investment ready. But at the same time, we see opportunity for selective international expansion. In fact, if you think about it, our prestige business is already for 40% an international business. So 60% United States, 40% international. And from our well-being business, 10% is international, 90% is in the US. And at the time when these brands were acquired, they were all acquired with the idea of geographical expansion in mind. But we need to be very sharp and we need to be very selective in our choices. So, with our commitment to premiumize in Europe, we see Europe as an important destination geography, and the same goes for China, again, selectively. In addition, because we're doubling down on India, India will be an important destination market as well, mostly for prestige beauty brands. And this will allow us to enter that prestige beauty market in India exactly at the right time. We will not be too late. Priya is going to talk about that a little more when she talks about B&W a little later in this afternoon. All right, now that covers focus. Let me now turn to Excel. Because this really gets to the heart of our 2030 growth action plan. And that is why it's obviously represented also on the page in the center of it. And as I said, this is the consumer-facing side of the strategy. And we have identified 5 areas where we believe that we need to excel to win. First, by creating that unmissably superior brands. 2, through multi-year and scalable innovations, fewer, bigger, better. 3, through premiumize our portfolio. So we're very clear that we want to do that, going to see that in the plan as well. 4th, anticipating the trends that we talked about by a significant boost in social first demand creation. And finally, tapping better and faster into those channels where the growth is. Now, what I want to do is to go through each of them very briefly in turn. And then several of our leadership team will show how some of these Excel concepts are coming to life in each of their businesses. And the first is making about our brands unmissably superior. And I talked about that already last year in the Growth Action Plan. And we've spoken about this before. And how we are approaching superiority in a more holistic way. And we're using a very structured and a very granular approach across the 6 pillars with 21 input metrics, and they're all weighted according to their significance in the category. Now, in truth, look, we don't start off in a bad place. When we introduced Unmissable Brand Superiority last year, around 70% of our brands already achieved superior scores in the eye of the consumer. But the challenge was that we didn't have enough brands that were actually growing in superiority. So first of all, we need to get to at least 80% of our portfolio being superior to competition, and we need a bigger percentage of our portfolio to be flat or growing, and of course not declining. And hey, we are well on the way, because this is a journey that I started for a while ago in embedding this model across the company with now coverage of about 2/3 of our turnover. And that work has helped us to identify areas where we needed to step up. And I'll give you 2 where that was most pronounced. The first one was on the P of proposition, where some of the brands are not perceived to be sufficiently differentiating vis-à-vis the competition, or not perceived to be fully on trend. This is where we had to make a change, and we're working that through. The second area where we saw the biggest gap was on packaging, and including the need that we have for improvement, particularly when it comes to a more premium packaging, again, in the view of the consumer. Now, we're going to listen in a bit to Eduardo, who is going to talk about it, Nuria Hernandez, who is our Chief Marketing Officer for Personal Care and in charge of the Dove brand, and she will talk about how we are addressing those points, proposition, as well as packaging, for example, in home care and on the biggest brand in the company, Dove. But before we go there, let me just illustrate this a bit more with an example in foods, for example, with Hellmann's in Brazil, and you can see it here on the page. The beauty of the UBS approach is that we are finding is that there is a clear link between the cause and effect. So in the case of Hellmann's Brazil, we had 3 limiting factors. First, the quality of the packaging, the product, the superiority of the product itself, and what we call the salience of the product. And that salience means showing up in the right moments and in the right way. I'll make it sort of simple. Now, those have all been addressed in this particular case. And you can see a very different looking product right now on the right side of the page, and with a new range that we have launched since that we started the framework. And since this change was made, our value share on Hellmann's has jumped in Brazil by over 250 basis points, and the brand has now continued that growth momentum. The second area where we intend to excel, so besides unmissable brand superiority, so I park that now, and again, you'll see more of it in the video, but the second area is on multi-year and scalable innovation. And as I said earlier, the level of innovation has not probably done justice to the strength of our brands, but also not to our world-class science and technology, I think. And I think we have failed somehow to produce enough market-making innovations in those high-growth premium spaces. And that is something that we're changing. And we have built a very clear agenda, making our innovations bigger and bolder, and I mentioned that, and better exploiting our deep expertise in cross-cutting R&D platforms. We have a few very important platforms that fuel multiple brands and multiple business groups, like microbiome, for example. And these ensure that our brands become unmissably superior. And an increasing R&D investment year on year, which will happen, and which I think we've indicated before, gives us the kind of accelerated innovation that we need. And we are quite confident here because we do see progress. We've had that 12 innovations for this year, as I mentioned, and they are becoming a 100 million platform. And here you see just some examples on the screen here across all business teams, all business groups. And the common themes are that they are all supported by science and technology. You know, these are good products, they address core benefit spaces, and they give us the potential to own and to grow key segments in premium and over a multi-year period. But let me turn it over to Edu now to bring the themes of multi-year scalable innovation and unmissable brand superiority to life in his business in home care.
Hey everyone, good to be here. Just doing a little bit of laundry today, good to be on top of it. Anyway, unmissable brand superiority and multi-year scalable innovations are two areas where we want to excel in Unilever and also in home care. They are fundamental in winning versus the market competition, but also for market making. So I want to show you what that looks like in our business. But first, let me give you a quick overview about our business in home care. We are a 12 billion euro business with leading brands like Dirt Scoot, Comfort, Sunlight, Domestos and Cif. We are the second biggest player in market by value and the number one by volume. 80% of our business is in D&E markets where we have strong citadels like India, Brazil, South Africa and Vietnam. Now, back to the Excel pillar, most specifically, unmissable brand superiority, or UBS as we call, it's a critical shift on how we look at our brands. It's a total new approach that brings greater rigor to how we think about and measure superiority, making our brands unmissably superior. Not just superior on its formulation, but actually across all of the 6 Ps. So, in line with the gap, we are focused on fewer but bigger innovation projects. We can therefore focus on better projects that are truly multi-year platforms. And in home care, specifically, we are also making a decisive shift from renovation to innovation. Our home care business has historically outperformed the market in driving renovation. And although it's very positive to keep our core up to date, renovations are by design less incremental as they have further cannibalization. Our focus now is therefore in big and bold moves that have multi-year supports and drive real portfolio transformation. A best-in-class example of it is Wonder Wash, the first real big bold innovation in the liquids detergent market in more than a decade. It was built on very strong consumer insights and changes in laundry habits. A massive change in consumer habits led to the majority of the clothes not having visible stains. As a result of it, 78% of people were already using a short cycle at least once a week to do their laundry. There was no product specifically designed for short cycles until we launched Wonder Wash, our most patented product ever that was carefully designed to drive unbeatable performance in the shortest of the cycles. Available now in more than 8 markets, but with another 20 markets to come next year, it's a true winning combination of where a big consumer insight meets products that is superior across all of the 6 Ps. As we were talking about UBS, it plays a role here again. The superiority does not stop at the great mix, but it also extends to how we land it with consumer. Fast distribution with more than 80% in only 3 months. We are also on the ruthless execution on driving trial, with sampling, promotion, lots of activities to make sure that consumer try our products. In-store execution that consumer really can't miss, driving consumer awareness of the big bet we are bringing to the market. And who better to front all of this than the fastest man on the planet, Usain Bolt.
I am Usain Bolt, and I like to do things fast. And now fast just got better.
The results speaks for themselves. More than 40 million already this year, and we plan to make it more than 100 million euro next year. With this innovation, we gained strong triple-digit share in the market we launched, and more specifically, in the UK, France and Turkey, we became market leaders. In addition to Wonder Wash, we have more great innovation that allow us to premiumize our portfolio as we drive superior benefits and real differentiation in the market. We launched the first liquid boosters in the fabric enhancer category, and we continue to roll out Domestos Power Foam that's premiumizing the toilet shelf. These big, bold moves are not just taking market share, but most importantly, they are helping us to grow the market, as well as to play in new category spaces. So, that's how we are bringing unmissable brand superiority and multi-year innovations together to drive growth for home care, for Unilever, but also for the market and our customers, while at the same time bringing exciting new innovations to our consumers that are turning household chores into really unmissable moments. But that's enough from me. Oh, every time I forget a sock.
Thanks, Edu. Thanks. Well done. Hey, the third area that we're talking about under Excel is premiumization, and I mentioned it already a few times. And we are under-indexed here, so there's a lot to do and there's a lot to go after. And we are going to do that by applying essentially three principles, or three ways to do that. The first is by improving our core business. So think of innovating on our core brands in developed markets. You know, a good example is, for example, Dove's Scalp Plus Hair innovation, as it uses skincare ingredients to strengthen hair fibers in a clinically proven way. Or by developing our core business in emerging markets through innovation and market development. And that goes often by conversion for evolving applications. So think of here the conversion in fabric cleaning from bars to powders to liquid. The second lever on premiumization is to scale our prestige and well-being businesses across the Unilever world. And I've already talked about that, but that in itself will bring premiumization. The third is to continue to evolve and rotate the portfolio more towards premium brands. And we've done that in the last year with the acquisition of K18 and with, for example, the divestment of some of the mainstream brands like Suave and the Elida brand portfolio. And we will continue to pull all these three levers to drive premiumization. So I think the message here is that is not an overnight fix, but we are determined about the path that we have taken. Now let's turn to the fourth element, and that is social first demand generation. Social media, as you know, continues to explode. Don't need to convince anyone, I think. There's now estimated to be about 4.8 billion users worldwide, and social media is not just providing information or entertainment. It's effectively driving purchase. 56% of Gen Z say they did buy a product after watching an influencer. And this is causing us to relook at marketing in an entirely different way and to move away from a traditional or even more modern forms of marketing to a social first marketing, and ensuring that our brands are embedded in those channels where people are actually spending their times these days. And this change directly aligns with our new consumer-centric purpose as we look to integrate our brands more deeply into that modern and social culture. And obviously, this is a very big change. And looking at where we currently sit with respect to social first, it's clear that we need to make some important shifts. But we do know what it takes to be done. And we are taking our learnings, not only from external, but I think this having a huge impact also from our acquired digitally native brands in the prestige and well-being portfolio. So the value from that portfolio is not just financial, but actually it's a great inspiration for our core business. And of course, it does mean that we need to invest more in that social domain, which we are doing. And we need to grow there from approximately 30% of our spend today to more than 50% in the near future. But apart from spend, I believe there are actually other important shifts. For example, we need to increase our content engine for these social channels. We need to empower our teams with better and AI-empowered capabilities. Otherwise, you simply cannot deliver the amount of content. We need to build new expertise and skills, obviously, in our marketing and our customer development organizations, which we're on. And we're putting a structured process in place now to manage these 3 shifts. Priya will say more on that shortly, about Social First in her business group, Beauty and Wellbeing. But first, the 5th area in which we need to excel, and that relates to channels. And those are the channels where we need to step up our execution and where we actually need to close a gap, since we are somewhat under-indexed in DCOM, as well as in specialty channels like health and beauty. So there we have a gap to close. And it's going to take a very tailored approach, depending, of course, on the channel and the retailer. But if I sort of take a bit of distance, and strategically we will be focused around A, in modern trade, a flawless integration with the data sets of our largest customer, and thereby significantly improving the planning and forecasting and delivery processes. When it comes to general trade, traditionally a stronghold for Unilever, it's all about digitizing that traditional trade. And we're doing that already successfully in Southeast Asia with our own app, in India to the Shikar app, and to the Compra Agora environment in Latin America. And we will continue to pursue those 3 regional strategies. We're investing to close the gap in DCOM, and we are stepping up our presence in the fast-growing area of health and beauty through that more dedicated sales efforts to the business group in the 24 markets where Beauty and Wellbeing will drive the presence in those channels. So, summarizing, these are the 5 areas where we really need to excel. The next film will, I think, help to demonstrate this a bit further. And Priya will talk about premiumization, social first, and what growth channels means to beauty and well-being. And in that same movie, Nuria, our Chief Marketing Officer for Personal Care, as I said, will talk about how all these 5 Excel areas will help to build Dove, our largest brand in the company, to make that an even stronger platform.
Hello, I'm Priya Nair, President of Beauty and Wellbeing. Premiumization, social first demand creation, and a strong presence in growth channels are the 3 areas of Excel. Today, I will bring those to life for you through Beauty and Wellbeing. But first, let me give you a quick overview of our Beauty and Wellbeing business, which accounts for approximately 21% of group turnover. We contest for global leadership in hair care and hold strong skincare positions, particularly in Asia, and are emerging challengers in prestige beauty and well-being, which combined are now more than 25% of our business. Geographically, Asia Pacific and Africa represent 50% of our sales, while the US is now nearly 35%. We have grown over 5% for 15 consecutive quarters, with volume growth exceeding 5% in the last 4 quarters. Like many of our categories, the beauty industry is constantly evolving, premiumizing, segmenting, and shifting to specialist channels, which is why we are making radical shifts in superior aesthetics to drive the shift from value to premium, social-first marketing to enable engagement at scale, increased exposure to high-growth channels such as DCOM and specialist channels. Let's first talk premiumization, as we are shifting our portfolio into premium demand spaces. In 2015, 98% of our business was focused on the mass segment. Today, it's 74%. Firstly, we are leveraging differentiated science and technology to bring premium benefits to customers, as well as elevating our core through superior packaging. A good example of this is our Vaseline business, a 150-year-old brand that in 2023 became a billion-euro brand and continues to grow double digits. We have launched cutting-edge premium innovations such as Vaseline Gluta-Hya that are light sensory body serums, and we are now bringing this disruptive technology to sun care with the first ever Serum Burst SPF 50, a water-based sun care serum. Vaseline Gluta-Hya is in now more than 20 countries with successful launches in the US and China this year. Secondly, we're accelerating the geographical expansion of our prestige and well-being brands. This segment has grown from under $1 billion in turnover 4 years ago to now around $4 billion, having delivered 15 consecutive quarters of double-digit growth. One of our fastest growing brands is Liquid IV, growing over 20% year to date. Liquid IV is a key pillar of our international expansion strategy. In the last 18 months, we have launched Liquid IV in 7 new markets as we build the functional hydration market outside the US. As our portfolio evolves, so must our engagement and marketing strategies. We're not just adapting, we are revolutionizing how our brands connect and resonate with communities and culture to generate demand. We are learning from our digitally native prestige and well-being brands. In our core business, we are accelerating our move from traditional TV-centric plans to social-first demand generation of high engagement and reach. A good example is Tresemme in Thailand.
New Tresemme serum with Keratin Bond Plus tech works deep into the core.
We have more than 200 assets which have been created with an always-on marketing approach, with AI supporting up to an 87% reduction in content creation costs, generated 2 times faster. Those assets have delivered 4 times the consideration on YouTube, 5 times the purchase intent, and 23% brand lift versus norms. As a whole, we are increasing our total digital spend in social from approximately 20% of media investment to 50%. Behind this is also a step change in our core capabilities. We're building an expert demand generation marketing team and an agency ecosystem, all enabled by strong data, cutting-edge technology and insights powered by AI. As we elevate our portfolio and lead with social-first demand creation, it's crucial that we win in existing channels and high-growth channels of the future. Modern trade remains our largest channel. For distributive trade, we continue to leverage Unilever's scale to digitize our operations across DT-heavy markets. To scale our presence in digital commerce and specialist beauty channels, we're investing in profitable, shopper-led pack price architecture, people capabilities, and ecosystems to enable seamless brand experiences across all touchpoints. We're seeing our premium portfolio starting to drive a shift in these channels with double-digit growth and share gains in DCOM. In India, we have set up an exclusive route to market to deliver executional excellence in a highly fragmented online beauty shelf in health and beauty. We went live in 2023 with this approach and have gained over 400 basis points of share in the last year alone. In October 2024, we went live in 75,000 outlets with the Beauty Premium Retail Organization in India, an exclusive route to market for offline beauty with 75% coverage of health and beauty channels. The Premium Retail Organization brings a curated portfolio of our premium mixes to specialized channels with the objective of landing our future-facing portfolio in market, premiumizing, segmenting, and shifting to specialist channels together with unmissable brand superiority and multi-year scalable innovations are how we will excel and build brands that win on every dimension.
Hi, I am Nuria Hernandez Crespo, Chief Marketing Officer, Personal Care. We all know Dove. In fact, 1 in 3 households around the world use a Dove product. It's a brand present in 150 countries and the global leader in personal care. Dove is today over 10% of Unilever's turnover and growing double-digit. So, to extend our leadership, we're building in all Excel pillars with clear priorities too. First, leverage our thought leadership in beauty, real beauty, transforming our demand generation through social first. Second, execute on a rich pipeline of innovation driven by science and technology, ensuring every touchpoint commands a premium. And as a result of these two priorities, we increase Dove's presence in fast-growing emerging channels. Did you know that women today recognize Dove as the most meaningful and different brand to them? Let's hear why.
Beauty can be in different shape and form. It's about how you feel.
When I think of Dove, I think inclusivity. See yourself represented. It makes me more comfortable in my skin.
If we could just encourage people to be more accepting of their differences, we'd be a happier place.
Dove is iconic. Real beauty has become a way to express, and it has inspired the entire industry. Real beauty helps us ignite social conversation, which is really powerful. We are driving our demand generation to be even more culturally important through social first, fueling a meaningful difference that the brand can lead in beauty. This is supported by a significant step up in digital media spend, from 45% today to nearly 70% tomorrow. Next, we are building an unmissably superior, more premium brand for the future. A few years ago, this was how Dove packaging looked on the shelf. The quick expansion of the brand created some inconsistencies, but our vision for today and the future is simple. Stay true to Dove, real beauty, enhance consistency, and command premium in every touch point. This is what tomorrow will look like. Getting desirable and aspirational goes to all dimensions of the brand, from product to shelf to social. And as a result, Dove builds a premium that the brand already has the equity to support. As our recently launched Dove Serum Infused Body Wash at 160 price index shows to us. Many of these changes are built on superior science and technology, which is driving a step change in the depth and the quality of our innovation pipeline. Let me take you through the changes made to the brand through the lens of some multi-year innovations that we have already deployed in market. Dove Serum Body Washes incorporate active ingredients used in face care like niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, or retinol for all-over skincare in the shower.
New Dove Serum Body Washes.
This innovation delivers a superior solution for consumers. First, in the US, our largest market, with a model that is replicable across the world. Dove Whole Body Deodorants, our new multi-year innovation, delivers odor protection to the whole body with care. The all-over-the-body deodorant segment is expected to become a €1 billion category opportunity by 2030. In hair, the Dove new DermaCare Plus is the next frontier in hair repair. DermaCare Plus is driving Dove's premiumization, with this mix anticipated to reach a price index up to 160. These are just some examples of many that I'm excited to bring to the market. Truly premium, market-making, game changers. And by delivering these strategic choices, we can leverage our credentials to succeed in growth channels, thereby expanding our brand footprint and global distribution. Through this plan, you've seen how we are touching all the Excel pillars to drive the brand to the next level. A social-first demand generation brand, rooted in our brand's strength and culture. A cohesive aesthetic brand that conveys our credentials and value to command a premium, with multi-year scalable innovations that will drive category growth across channels. The strength of Dove brand combined with the vast untapped potential we are now unlocking positions us well for the next wave of growth. It opens a future with a more aspirational and joyful expression of real beauty that will truly brighten everyday life for all. Let's change beauty.
Thank you, Nuria and Priya. That takes us to the third area where we are making some clear strategic choices, and that area is what we are terming accelerate. So here we have identified areas that are going to be critical to the success of the 2030 Growth Action Plan, and where, although we start off from a good position actually, the pace of change is such that we need to accelerate to stay ahead. And these are science and technology. We already talked about it, we'll come back to that. Making our supply chain more agile and lean, driving net productivity, and scaling artificial intelligence, scaling AI. Now let me start with science and technology. If you look across our business, we do see three broad platforms with a potential for wider application. And I think we talked about it with you before. Microbiome, biotechnology, and the use of next generation materials. So keep those in mind. And an increasing number of our big multi-year and scalable projects are powered by these three platforms. This is what binds our company in many ways together. And actually, we're already seeing those benefits. So let me give you an example. So on microbiome, by the way, the first one, Richard, our head of R&D, will talk to you in a moment about Dove's new serum shower range that Nuria also showed. So he will talk about that. But I'll talk about biotechnology. For example, Sunlight dishwash is benefiting from the superior cleaning and moisturizing that our biosurfactants Remnotech is bringing to our products. You should try it, and you feel it. You can feel it on your hands. Certainly, for hours after you've used it. Next generation materials. A good example is the Gluta-Hya or the Gluta-Glow technology that brings 10 times antioxidant power to skincare, as in Vaseline's blockbuster innovation Gluta-Hya that Priya showed. So to ensure that we continue down this path, we are building our R&D capabilities in a number of ways. And I want to call out two. First, that is the digitization, in which we work very closely with some of our very large tech partners. We've recently concluded a cooperation with Microsoft, we've been public about that, but we're also working with others on the West Coast. And second, through a big investment that we are making in packaging, and particularly in premium packaging. As said, that is needed because we felt we had to close some gaps there to become unmissably superior. It also means, unmissably superior, we needed to up our game on fragrance. And frankly, that was an area where we had to make some improvements. Well, that is really about to change. And in this video, Richard, our Chief R&D Officer, will talk to you about how R&D and science and technology are powering innovation, including through the building of a world-class capability in fragrance ourselves.
Hi, I'm Richard Slater, Unilever's Chief R&D Officer. Now I'm here today from our fantastic India R&D lab. At Unilever, we aim to lead and shape our markets with real innovation, supported by breakthrough science. With 5,000 R&D experts, including more than 500 PhDs in our key labs around the world, hundreds of innovative partnerships, and more than 20,000 patents, we're well equipped to achieve this. While we have world-class R&D science and technology capabilities, we've not always leveraged these hard enough in market, with our innovation efforts at times fragmented and not always focused on the biggest growth opportunities. Now, as part of the GAP strategy, we've been bringing more focus to our best science, technology and innovation. We've prioritised 12 key innovations for our power brands in 2024 that have received significant focus and investment support. These include Vaseline Gluta-Hya, Liquid IV Sugar-Free, Persil and Omo's Wonder Wash, and Magnum Pleasure Express. Behind this, we've freed up resource by halving the number of projects since 2021, while more than doubling average size and the in-market sales from innovation. Now, this focus is starting to pay off, with key launches delivering ahead of business case year to date. When we focused our best differentiated science and technology on the most important growth spaces for our power brands, we see big impact. For example, leveraging the superior Invictus antiperspirant technology into more than 2 billion of sales across Rexona, Dove and Axe deodorants. Now, this was years in the making. It's a breakthrough microtechnology protected by 16 patent families and backed by more than 200 clinical and consumer studies. We've rolled this out across more than 40 markets, and it's been a key driver of deodorant's growth over recent years, and it's going to continue to support multiple formats and benefit innovations in the years to come. So we can see the impact when we really bring a superior technology to market. Now, as well as leveraging what we have today, of course, our key role in R&D is to develop the next generation of technologies, products, and innovations, really to drive category and market growth in new and incremental benefit spaces. Take, for example, Wonder Wash, specifically designed for the consumer trend for short and cold wash cycles. Here we used advanced robotics, predictive modeling, and AI capabilities to develop the Pro-S technology behind Wonder Wash in just 15 months, a project which would have previously taken us years. Another good recent example is Dove's Serum Shower Collection, using our patented micro-moisture technology. And this technology ensures that skin care ingredients like collagen and vitamin C are locked into the skin, continuing to work long after the shower has ended. Now, behind all of this, one of the biggest shifts we're making in R&D is the digital transformation agenda. Now, this is delivering significant productivity, but also leading to new and faster discovery. We are radically changing how R&D is done, moving from physical experiments in the lab to AI-driven predictive modeling and simulations. Our strategic partnerships are a key driver of this digital transformation, and a key example of this is Microsoft, where we are together accelerating digital science and engineering. And this is really enabling our scientists to develop models to identify new molecules and ingredients with target properties that will drive superiority, sustainability, and affordability into the future. It also allows us to optimize our formulations and our processes without the need for physical testing, speeding our time to market.
The collaboration between Unilever and Microsoft is unique. Unilever is very keen to push the boundaries of innovation. We are enabling them on this journey by providing them with AI tools and with a fantastic platform that harnesses the power of the cloud. It essentially enables high-performance computing and AI, and when we couple both of these together, we are able to dramatically accelerate the way we figure out which chemicals and which compounds best react together. Unilever touches 3.4 billion people every single day. That scale will change lives for the better.
To further enhance our capabilities and drive both innovation and unmissable brand superiority, I'm really excited today to announce a significant investment of 100 million euros to build a new, world-leading, digital-first fragrance house within Unilever. Now, this investment will see us hire expert perfumers across key markets, build state-of-the-art new fragrance development facilities, and partner with some of the most innovative companies in fragrance creation. Now, this will not only enable us to create and develop our own winning fragrances, but also to work more effectively with our important existing fragrance house partners, which will continue to be a key part of our model and our approach. So across R&D, by doing fewer things better and with greater impact, we're maximizing our best science and technology and innovation. We've begun to see the fruits of this in 2024, but I'm even more excited by the strong pipeline of innovation we're set to deliver in 2025 and beyond.
Thank you, Richard. An exciting development, as you heard, in fragrance. The next two areas under acceleration are to build a lean and an agile supply chain and to continue to drive net productivity. And we've shifted to net productivity to emphasize what really impacts the P&L. And that implies material savings to beat market inflation by around 1% and a 2% per unit reduction in production and logistics costs. Now, the good news is that we are delivering that in 2024. But more important is that we are now looking to deliver these improvements consistently in the future. So savings will be delivered largely through procurement and value chain interventions. And to ensure that we achieve our goals, we are increasing the level of CapEx that's earmarked for savings to more than 55% of the total capital expenditure of the group. Beyond that, we're also doing some sizable network transformations. These are currently going on in Europe and in North America to automate and to optimize our supply chains and further accelerate on productivity. To show how this works and how it actually comes to life, I'll turn it now over to Reggie, our Chief Business Operations Officer.
In a rapidly evolving world, we are accelerating the capabilities needed to deliver operational excellence by driving net productivity, maintaining a lean and agile supply chain, and identifying and harnessing the transformative power of AI. Unilever operates 280 factories, 440 finished goods warehouses and distribution centers, and collaborates with around 1,000 third-party manufacturers to ship our products to 250,000 customers worldwide. We have agile models as well as 7 global operational hubs that ensure operational rigor, resilience, and cost efficiencies across the full value chain, from master data and customer service to cash collection. Driven by the Growth Action Plan, we have shifted our focus from a gross savings to a net savings approach to shine the light on what's actually landing in the P&L. First, let's look at material savings. Competitive buying is the biggest driver of our material savings. We are negotiating differently, like running a global tender for plastic flexibles or using regional tenders across several materials, where better price transparency leads to better results. We are developing new capabilities powered by AI to enhance buying and negotiation tasks such as Forecaster and Optimizer. These tools provide accurate market price forecasts and AI-based sourcing scenario projections, significantly improving procurement efficiency. And we are simplifying, having reduced over 20% of our SKUs and nearly 20% of our specifications over the last 18 months. The other key pillar of material savings is value chain interventions. We have completed backward integration projects in palm oil and palm kernel oil, which give us competitive costs while also improving our sustainable sourcing. We have also invested in new sulfonation units to manufacture surfactants. Investing in upstream capabilities through collaborative partnerships drives higher quality and lowers costs, and we are looking to extend this to a further 10 to 12 materials. Next, production and logistics savings. We are creating a lean, agile supply chain powered by advancements in data, tech, and AI. In our distribution network, we are enhancing efficiencies through our Travel Less and Load More program, leveraging automation initiatives to optimize routes and load capacities. We have already reduced the average distance per dispatch by 15% and increased truck utilization by almost 10%. Good for our customers and the environment. Across our talent pool, AI initiatives like AI labor planning and generative AI diagnostics are driving significant labor efficiency gains. In 2024, we achieved close to a 4% increase in labor efficiency measured by tons per FTE. Lastly, in several markets, we are transforming our network with cutting-edge AI and technology. A key investment is future-proofing our European and North American networks. And we are not building alone. Advancements in AI, production automation, and labor productivity come to life in collaboration with our tech partners like Accenture and NVIDIA.
AI is powering productivity and growth across every part of the enterprise. And Accenture and Unilever are working together to unlock productivity gains and efficiencies and accelerate groundbreaking innovation. At Unilever's Doom factory in India, we implemented a new AI-powered batch health monitoring system, using cutting-edge technology to predict optimal batch performance based on cycle time, quality, and utility cost, resulting in reduced cost per ton. We are also partnering with Unilever's global AI lab, Horizon 3, which recently opened in Toronto and is the first of its kind in the consumer packaged goods industry. Leveraging Unilever's AI research and Canada's research ecosystem, we are exploring and developing innovative AI applications to drive Unilever's next wave of productivity and growth. These are just a few examples of the exciting work that Accenture and Unilever are doing together to continue to shape a smarter, more efficient, and more sustainable future.
Combined, our efforts move us closer to the most groundbreaking development, which you call the dark factory. Imagine a facility so autonomous, it needs just one operator to monitor prescriptive insights from a control center. This vision is already a reality, and we've just seen in our personal care factory in Cu Chi, Vietnam. In 2024, we've made significant progress driving net productivity, enhancing our lean and agile supply chain, and harnessing the power of scaled AI. And we are just getting started as we remain at the forefront to accelerate Unilever today and tomorrow. That's it from me anyway. I'm going dark.
Thanks, Reggie. Hey, the fourth area where we intend to accelerate is in scaling AI. And so I hope it has already become apparent that scaling AI transcends, in a way, everything that we are doing in almost every part of the business. And you see that reflected here in the 6 big tech and AI investments that we are making and that cover 2 verticals. We've been experimenting, by the way, on AI across the enterprise in many different ways. So at some point, 500 different smaller experiments. But we're bringing it down to 6 key investments, fewer, bigger, better, and with greater impact. Now, on the first side is the demand creation side of the business. And there AI is all about, one, as I said, connecting with customers better, and that leverages the data sets on both sides to come to better forecasting, planning, and delivery. 2, to support that whole social first transformation, i.e. a new marketing model and making use, obviously, to drive content, but also making use of consumer data. 3rd is the acceleration in the pace of innovation, and Richard also talked about that. Then on the second column, the second set of the 6 relates to productivity and savings. And those are, for example, these autonomous operations, or as Reggie called it, the dark factories. It's a bit of a funny word, but the dark factories, autonomous operations, or driving competitiveness in, for example, procurement, where you can actually significantly benefit from the large number of data, but also in contracting in a much faster and in a more efficient manner. Now, you heard from both Richard and Reggie referring to today's importance of these programs, but those are the select set of investments on AI that we are intending to scale up. So, to briefly sum up this part of the Growth Action Plan 2030, we have distilled our strategic priorities into 3 core elements, focusing on where we can reap the biggest rewards. 2, excelling in the drivers of demand creation. And 3rd, accelerating the critical capabilities that we need to succeed in this fast-changing world. I hope that the videos that you have seen, they help to illustrate a bit in what these strategic choices actually mean in practice and within our company. And of course, we will be very happy to talk more about it during our Q&A. Underpinning the new purpose and the strategic priorities are 2 areas that are so important that we have called them out separately: sustainability and winning culture. And I want to say something about each before the break. And it's starting with sustainability. We have successfully rallied and mobilized the business and a wider industry in the past around the sustainability agenda, starting in 2010, really. And then we integrated all of that good work into our operations somewhere in 2020. But now we've moved on to the next stage. And that is a ruthless agenda which focuses us on those areas that poses the biggest risk to our operations, but also where we can make the biggest impact on the world. The biggest positive impact, in fact. And to that end, we've set out, I believe, very stretching, ambitious, but also measurable and highly transparent targets across of our 4 priority areas. And those are climate, nature, plastics, and livelihoods. And these areas, or the targets, are focused on what we need to do this year, what we need to do next year, and what we need to do towards 2030. And of course, as I've said before, long-term goals are very important, but they are nothing without a short-term delivery. Delivering on these goals is not only dependent on what we do, but also on how successfully that we work with others to create the right conditions, and they are captured here in points 2 and 3 on the chart. So, on the 2, as you can see, we will work with legislators, with regulators, and opinion formers to create the right policy frameworks. For example, plastics is a very good example on that. We cannot reach our targets if we don't play this as an industry and with regulators and governments. But we will also work with our key retailers and our partners to maximize impact. And I believe that we've got some really good collaborations on that already going on, and I'm very encouraged on what we can do together beyond the commercial terms and the AI integration. There's also considerable joint sustainability programs that we can embark on, and I see a lot of appetite from our largest customers on that. And here we have a significant head start. Now let me turn to the second key element underpinning our strategy, and that is what we term our winning culture. And culture is obviously a very broad topic, but we think of it essentially in the context of values, of people, and of behaviors. And I think those of you who have observed us for quite a long time, you will probably agree with me that we start off from a position of having very talented people, very committed people, a company that thrives on strong values and high levels of integrities. And of course, these are all strengths, and our values, in that sense, remain untouched. So we haven't changed them. They're super important. But we are introducing new behavioral aspects to shift the dial on performance. And calling out behavior is something new for the company. We haven't done that before. And there's a whole program of work that sits behind this, and it's led by our new Chief People Officer, Mairead. She's here. And I can't do justice to really talk at a long time now about behaviors in the time that is available today. But let me just say that these will be built into all our people processes and in our assessments. There's a big comprehensive program underway. But these behavioral shifts, they come on top of a reward framework that is now more incentivized and closely linked to performance. And we've started that a year ago already. So we've taken steps, as you know, with changes to our remuneration framework. I talked about that. Directors' remuneration is more closely linked to shareholder interest, including, for example, measurement on after restructuring profit delivery for executive directors. Long-term incentive plans have been altered, including alignment to shareholder value creation through the introduction of TSR again. And there is a greater line of sight for employees when it comes to reward. And there is a greater level of forced differentiation between employees. So that's stuff that we have underway. But as we've gone into Growth Action Plan 2030, we are finding further ways in which to dial up that performance edge within our culture. First, making sure that we have new, simplified, but very stretching goals, and those are max 3 per person. We want to be very clear on that behavior that you saw, focus on what counts. That, of course, is very much linked to fewer, bigger, better. And that those goals need to be fully aligned to our GAP 2030 in-year performance expectations. Secondly, we're driving performance through more differentiation, but also more stretch, which we're introducing. And that means that we're going from prior bonus stretch from 0 to 150% to now between 0 and 200% below executive level, to drive a greater level of outperformance and to reward that more so. We also will be focusing the Unilever executive team short-term bonus plans on financial goals, just the way that Fernando and myself are measured. And therefore will be structurally aligned between all members of the Unilever executive team. Individual performance will be amplified or discounted by the personal goals. And we will be increasing performance visibility and evaluation versus competition, of course. I talked about improving competitiveness, so all the presidents of our business will have market competitiveness, i.e. market share or equivalent as part of their personal goals. So let me just sum up briefly before we have that break. Under the new leadership, we have come a long way, I think, in a relatively short amount of time in changing the company. The growth action plan, we believe, is working, and we've made a good start. But truly, that's all it is. I want to be humble. It is a start. But from that start, we do have an increased level of confidence to look further ahead now. The next few years will for sure be challenging for markets everywhere. But we believe that the new purpose and the strategic choices and the priorities that we've set out reflect the big shifts that we need to make as a company. And all of the elements that we have talked about are captured here in full on this one-page version. As you will see, we have set ourselves the goal of delivering nothing less in our strategic goal than best-in-class performance. And it's time to raise our sights as a company from middle of the pack to a best-in-class performance. That is our ambition. And we will do that by prioritizing and by investing behind market-making, unmissably superior brands. We believe that is the best route to take to unlock value on Unilever. And Fernando will pick up this theme after the break. So, hey, thanks for staying with us. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your attention so far. Enjoy the break, take an ice cream, and be back in 15 minutes.